tomorrow. And that's your hourly weather update.
K2 Weather every hour is brought to you by Teplic Laser Vision, your vision for the future.
On World News tonight, the FBI agent accused of betraying his country and doing terrible damage, spying for the Soviets and then the Russians. Do the police need a warrant for heat-seeking technology to spy on your home? At the Supreme Court today, a very big case about search and seizure. The promise of a cancer cure beneath the sea, a treasure chest of potential medicine. And Stanley Kramer, the film director.
Mom, this is John.
An extraordinary career is over.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. Even before the FBI arrested Robert Philip Hansen and charged him with espionage today, they believed he had done, as someone put it this morning, a hell of a lot of damage to the United States. This father of 6 who went to the same church as the FBI director is accused of betraying his country first to the Soviet Union during the Cold War and as recently as Sunday to the Russians. And all the time, as a counterintelligence agent, he was supposed to be spying on them. He worked at the FBI for 27 years. He allegedly became a spy in 1985, the trusted insider who betrayed the trust. We're beginning at the FBI tonight with ABC's Pierre Thomas. Pierre, they said there today it was a great coup to catch him. On the other hand, it took them 15 years to find him.
That's right, Peter. For more than 4 months, hundreds of FBI agents were involved in one of the most sensitive investigations in FBI history.
The criminal conduct alleged represents the most traitorous actions imaginable against a country governed by the rule of law.
At a hearing today, an expressionless Hansen was formally charged with espionage and conspiracy. He is accused of a 15-year campaign of treason, much of it while he worked as a counterintelligence agent.
It's a serious matter. An FBI agent is charged with espionage, and we'll have to see what the quality of the case is.
The FBI says on more than 20 occasions he left packages at drop-off sites like these for spies of the Soviet Union and later Russian spies. 20 computer tapes were allegedly provided, and in all, more than 6,000 pages of classified information was handed over. FBI officials are not certain why Hansen may have turned against his own country, but they believe money played a role.
In return, he received large sums of money and other remuneration, including diamonds. The complaint alleges that he received over $600,000 in cash.
A major break in the case came about 4 months ago when the FBI and CIA came across a treasure trove of KGB documents. The papers did not name Hansen, but spoke of an American working on U.S. soil. The FBI tried to figure out who was in a position to know as much as the Russians knew. Hansen fit the description. They quickly began around-the-clock surveillance, including wiretaps. At 5 p.m. Sunday, Hansen arrived at this park in Vienna, Virginia, about 10 miles from Washington. FBI agents watched from secret locations as Hansen allegedly dropped off a packet of classified information under a footbridge. 9 minutes later, FBI agents swooped in for the arrest. At another nearby park, they discovered $50,000 that the Russians had dropped off, allegedly as payment. Sources tell ABC News the FBI is also investigating Hansen in connection with those missing laptop computers at the State Department last year. If convicted of espionage, he faces life in prison or perhaps the death penalty. Peter?
Thank you, Pierre. Extraordinary day. As for the diamonds, in 1986, Hansen allegedly wrote to the KGB, "As far as funds are concerned, I have little need for more than 100,000. More money, he said, would send alarm bells, perhaps some diamonds, he suggested, as security to my children." As the FBI director said today, Robert Hansen's double role made him a superpower's worst nightmare, and that his duplicity went undetected for so long makes the damage that much worse. ABC's John McWethy joins us from Washington tonight. John, how deep is the damage?
Peter, U.S. officials say it was very deep. They also say that one of the problems was all of the details he gave up.
Robert Hansen worked in Washington and New York at the heart of the FBI's operation, catching spies, recruiting them, setting up phone taps and surveillance, All the while, the FBI charges he was also passing secrets to the Russians.
Hansen was able to tell the Russians exactly which targets were under suspicion and which methods of monitoring were being used against him.
Most recently, Hansen worked at the State Department, where his job was supposed to be helping protect American embassies from spies. The FBI alleges that Robert Hansen went to work for the Soviets more than 15 years ago when Mikhail Gorbachev was just rising to power. The FBI had recruited 3 moles in the Soviet embassy in Washington. The American spy Aldrich Ames initially fingered the 3 Soviet operatives. Now the FBI says it was information provided by Hansen that sealed their fate. The Soviets abruptly called the 3 home, and 2 were executed. The FBI has what it says was Hansen's first letter to the Soviets in 1985, naming the 3 agents and saying he would follow with a box full of classified documents, sufficient, he wrote, to justify a $100,000 payment. According to the FBI, Hansen also ruined the 1989 case against Felix Bloch, the highest-ranking State Department official ever accused of espionage. Hansen allegedly tipped off the Russians that Bloch was a suspect. Bloch was never prosecuted. The FBI today acknowledged that Hansen remained hidden for so long because, as a counter-espionage expert, he knew exactly what the FBI was looking for.
He constantly checked FBI records for signs that he and the drop sites he was using were being investigated. He refused any foreign travel to meet with the Russians. Hansen never displayed outward signs that he was receiving large amounts of unexplained cash.
Incredibly, the FBI believes the Russians never knew Hansen's real name or where he worked.
The FBI learned of his true identity long before the Russians. They are learning of it today.
Turns out that the end of the Cold War may have done little to stop Russian spying, but in truth, the U.S. is doing it too. Sources tell us that Hansen's first was identified by an American penetration of Russian intelligence. Peter?
Thanks, John. John McCarthy in Washington tonight. As you've heard a couple times, it took the FBI 15 years to find Mr. Hansen. No wonder the neighbors knew nothing. Here's ABC's Jackie Judd.
Robert Hansen appeared to lead a quiet, middle-class life in this Virginia neighborhood, living in a modest home with no outward signs of extravagance, with his wife Bonnie and their 6 children. His sister-in-law, Jean, lives across the street.
It's a family tragedy. It's just a family tragedy.
By all accounts, the family is deeply religious.
Every Sunday, shuffling all those kids into the van, all 8 of them, into the van and off to Mass.
Others familiar with the family say they belong to a very conservative Catholic organization, Opus Dei, Work of God. Hansen's wife teaches at one of their schools. And it is by coincidence or planning on Hansen's part that the family belonged to St. Catherine of Siena, the same church as FBI Director Free. There is another intersection between Hansen and the FBI director. Some of their sons were enrolled at the same private school, one run by the Opus Dei order. Robert Hansen was a familiar figure there.
Somebody who lived the way he lived and who held the views that I think he holds, that could do something like this. There must be some other explanation. I can't imagine what it could be.
There is an intriguing entry in the FBI affidavit, a letter that Robert Hansen allegedly wrote only 11 months ago to one of his Russian handlers. In it, he says, "I decided on this course when I was 14 years old. I read Philby's book." That would be Kim Philby, the British intelligence officer who spied for the Soviet Union. Jackie Judd, ABC News, Washington.
There'll be more about this on Nightline this evening. They're going to be talking to someone who Hansen worked with in the counterintelligence department at the FBI. When we come back on this broadcast, tough question for the Supreme Court today. The cops detected heat inside the house. Was that enough to warrant entry? We're going to begin our series on cancer tonight. In this case, looking for new treatments in the ocean. And Stanley Kramer has died, the man who made some of the most memorable movies.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by New Pepcid Complete.
What will you do with all your old antacids now that there's new Pepcid Complete? Unlike your old antacids, only Pepcid Complete starts to neutralize acid in seconds and lasts for hours, all with a single tablet. New Pepcid Complete. Just one and heartburn's done.
Nature made it. Minwax makes it beautiful with rich wood stains and long-lasting protective finishes. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
I want a really cool computer.
Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
I want speed.
It's 933 megahertz fast enough.
I want a humongous monitor.
Everything.
Everything.
And your budget?
$1,000.
Michael, a Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Pentium 3 processor, 17-inch monitor, free DVD or a printer is just $999.
1,000.
Under.
At Gateway, we make it easy.
At the Supreme Court today, the justices have been hearing an unusual case about search and seizure. Police now have the ability to discover evidence of crimes inside a home without ever walking through the door. This, as you can imagine, is about the ever-expanding reach of technology. The question is, do the cops need a warrant? Here's ABC's John Martin.
Danny Kylo was asleep in this house. He had no idea police were scanning it with a thermal imaging device which picks up differences in temperature. Police saw what they believed was excessive heat, so they then got a search warrant and found he was growing marijuana under powerful lights. Kylo said thermal imaging was an unconstitutional search.
They use a technology that you can't see with the eye, hear with the ears, or, or smell with the nose, to peer into my house.
They shouldn't be able to do the same thing electronically that they can't do physically.
The government argued that using such a device does not require a search warrant because it's not a search at all, merely a way to detect heat rising from the walls. Some justices were troubled. Justice Breyer. There is a reasonable expectation that what you're doing in your bedroom is not going to be picked up by a thermal imager. Thermal imaging is becoming popular with law enforcement who use it to track people in the dark undetected.
He has no idea that I'm watching his activities.
Another device, which looks like a flashlight, sniffs drivers to detect alcohol vapor on their breath.
Have you had anything to drink tonight, sir?
In this demonstration, the closer to the amaretto, the more the gauge glows red. A third device will soon look through your clothes to see if you have a gun or suspicious object. Law enforcement officers argue that while these devices do intrude somewhat on citizens' privacy, it is this kind of technology that makes law enforcement more effective. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
In Mooresville, North Carolina, stock car legend Dale Earnhardt's headquarters, known locally as the Garage Mahal, it's become a shrine. Earnhardt was killed in a crash on Sunday, as everybody knows. In Atlanta, hundreds of fans turned out today for a memorial service. He died of massive head injuries, as most people also know. And the Charlotte Observer reports today that the manufacturer of the HANS, or head and neck safety device for drivers, has had 50 new orders since the weekend. In California today, the space shuttle Atlantis finally landed. 3 straight days of bad weather had prevented the ship from returning to Florida after attaching a massive laboratory to the International Space Station. And so they landed, as they can, in California instead. When we come back, cancer drugs from the sea.
Try it both ways. Most dancers are afraid of losing a step. After I had my stroke, I was afraid I'd never dance again. Now I take Bayer aspirin every day, like my doctor said, to help prevent another stroke.
Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
And when my body is sore, I take extra strength Bayer. It's that strong. It's great to be back.
Bayer. Take it for pain, take it for life.
You know, you never know when you're going to get injured and miss work. That's why I have that supplemental insurance.
What's supplemental insurance? Aflac.
It's the one that pays you cash for things like lost pay and other expenses.
What one?
Aflac. Just ask about it at work, all right?
What did you say it was?
Aflac!
Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Hello, America, how are you?
You know, when I eat good, I feel good.
Healthy Choice helps you feel good.
We're both feeling good.
You see, eating right makes a difference, and Healthy Choice bowls are the new way to do that. With 12 bold flavors like spicy Thai peanut chicken, beef and broccoli with ginger accents, and fire-roasted red pepper chicken. Delicious and nutritious, they help you feel good.
I think he's doing great.
I feel really good.
Healthy Choice. Feel good food.
Grass, check. Perspiration. Check.
The new Maytag Neptune with Stain Brain makes removing stains all but foolproof.
Thanks.
Well, at least the new kid's keeping busy.
The new Maytag Neptune, perfecting the art of stain removal.
We're going to take a closer look this week at cancer. There's been some significant, even remarkable progress in treating it, though cancer in its many forms is still responsible for 25% of the deaths in the U.S. every year, and that is 1,500 Americans a day. Finding a cure is, of course, one of science's holy grails. And as laymen, we're very often surprised at how, and in this case where, scientists believe they have found something that will make a difference. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
Here, far below the waves, lies a vast, largely unexplored array of marine life, a treasure chest of potential medicines, different forms of sponges and coral and algae. Some contain toxic chemicals to keep predators at bay, unique chemicals that researchers are discovering can also attack human cancer cells.
These compounds are extremely strong in a drug sense. You require very little of a lot of these materials to do very nasty things to cancer cells.
The National Cancer Institute has collected extracts from more than 10,000 marine organisms. One of the most promising chemicals, a compound found in these moss-like creatures called bryozoans.
We're excited. We're very excited with this. We do think this is the beginning of a new development in cancer therapy.
The drug, called bryostatin, has been showing encouraging results in several early clinical trials, especially in combination with chemotherapy drugs. Last year, Louis Piaruli's cancer was spreading through his bones and lymph nodes. Traditional chemotherapy had failed. Then doctors tried again, the same chemotherapy drug, but this time they added bryostatin.
The response in this patient was exceptional, and it was dramatic. And we would not have anticipated this response from chemotherapy alone.
Before adding bryostatin to the chemotherapy, Piaruli's bones were riddled with cancer. 5 months after treatment, no trace of the disease.
I was elated. It was just a tremendous relief off my mind.
The main side effects, muscle pain and fatigue, disappear after treatment. Researchers are now experimenting, trying different doses of bryostatin, combining it with different chemotherapy drugs, and trying to identify which cancers might best respond to this therapy. Which cancer patients might benefit from a unique drug from the bottom of the sea. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
Tomorrow, the new treatment for prostate cancer. Less pain and a quicker recovery. When we come back this evening, no heat, no water, 1 million people at risk.
Grandmom couldn't come with us.
Chronic bronchitis or emphysema associated with COPD can keep you from doing simple things.
Sometimes she can't breathe right.
But taking Ceravent helps me take fuller breaths.
Nothing can reverse COPD, but taking Ceravent twice a day can help improve your lung function around the clock. Ceravent should not replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms or be taken more than twice a day. Some people may experience increased blood pressure, heart rate, or changes in heart rhythm. Ceravent is prescription medicine and may not be right for everyone. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure, or take MAOIs or tricyclic antidepressants. Ask your doctor if Ceravent is right for you and start taking fuller breaths.
You choose to be healthy. You choose to be successful. You choose to give back. choose to be yourself. The choices you want, the voice you need to make the most out of life. Today's AARP.
And now for something dramatically different from Dodge. The all-new Dodge Grand Caravan. Simply put, it's the best minivan ever from the people who invented the minivan. And now with low 0.9 financing on most caravans, you'll find that different may actually be even better. Dodge Caravan. Different.
Tomorrow, the latest on the shocking spy scandal. Plus, she's faced the media, the public, and Washington. Now who's she taking on? Linda Tripp on Good Morning America.
Tomorrow, China's desperate efforts to host the Olympics. But will the world's outrage stop them once again? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
We're going to enlarge our overseas coverage somewhat beginning tonight, working with the British Broadcasting Corporation on World Watch, another way to connect you with the rest of the world. The BBC has just sent a team to Afghanistan, which the United Nations described today as a catastrophe in the making. 1 million people at risk of starvation. Now, the U.S. is a leading supporter of economic sanctions against Afghanistan. Washington says the government there is protecting the alleged terrorist Osama bin Laden. From the BBC's Matt Fry tonight, the effect of sanctions, war, bad government, and now devastating drought.
The Mazlak camp, a home in the dust for 40,000 refugees from cold and hunger. They've walked for days to get here, forced to flee their villages where the worst drought in 30 years has killed their harvests and now their children. A man took us to his son's grave in the saddest corner of the camp. Most of the piles of rock and mud are the graves of children, over 150 in the last 2 weeks.
At night, we had no blanket and no quilt, so we could not keep him warm, but we tried to keep him warm. He was shivering.
We are strangers here. But now everyone wants to tell us their story. Margula is 7 months old. Her mother died last night, and her father doesn't know where to get her milk. We're taken to meet what's left of the Mohammed family. She has lost 2 of her children to hunger and cold. We haven't eaten for days, he told me. And inside their mud hut, it is their eldest son who now lies dying. After decades of drought, warfare, and now the bitter cold, this is a humanitarian crisis of almost biblical proportions. But it's also one laced with an irony. While UN sanctions have made the plight of these people a lot worse, it is also UN aid agencies which are providing the basic needs here. There's only 1 hour of daylight left. Then the temperatures here drop to well below freezing. Today, 16 people share the Mohammed's tiny hut. Tomorrow, it may be 15. Matt Fry, BBC News, in the Mazlak camp, Western Afghanistan.
When we come back, Stanley Kramer, a great director.
His films were just perfect little vessels of information, issues, entertainment, and ultimately power.
Need extra cash? Don't charge it on your credit cards. Get a second mortgage with no closing costs from Ditech.com. With a second mortgage, you can consolidate all your existing high-interest debts, get the cash you need for any purpose, and end up with one lower monthly payment. A second mortgage with no closing cost is smart money from Ditech.com. Log on now for fast online approval or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
If not you. If not here. If not now. Toyota Avalon. Our most luxurious, most advanced sedan ever. Deferred gratification is highly overrated.
An important study has shown that 3 cups of Cheerios whole grain oats a day added to a low-fat diet can actually help reduce your cholesterol. Just think of them as little life preservers. The one and only Cheerios to help reduce your cholesterol.
I may look young, but I still suffer from hot flashes. I discovered a natural way to deal with it. Healthy Woman, from the makers of Monistat. Healthy Woman's a soy menopause supplement that helps relieve hot flashes and night sweats. Healthy Woman.
I'm Paul Lenman. Coming up next on K2 News, another high-tech company tightens its belt. Tonight, Intel's strategy to save money and save jobs. Also tonight, what ripple effects we could expect after the latest wave of cutbacks, and elephants on the job hunt. An elephant expert explains why they need new work. K2 News is next.
Just a brief review of our main story today. The FBI charged one of its own, Robert Philip Hansen, with spying for the Soviet Union and Russia. He is accused of doing an enormous amount of damage to the United States. Mr. Hansen was a 27-year veteran of the FBI, and you can read the entire indictment against him at abcnews.com. Finally, from us this evening, the great film director Stanley Kramer has died. He was 87.
All right, cut!
Stanley Kramer made powerful films.
I'm trying to capture my own truth.
This is John.
In Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, he delved into race relations.
Dr. Prentice, I'm so pleased to meet you.
In Judgment at Nuremberg, he stood up to evil.
Brutalities, torture, atrocities.
Kramer was born in New York City. He was a young man during the Depression. He said it helped him to understand prejudice and freedom. Inherit the Wind, about science and religion, still resonates today.
God tells Brady what is good. To be against Brady is to be against God.
His comedies were on a grand scale. He said It's a Mad, 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 Mad World was the best time he ever had. With Kramer, stars were born. Kirk Douglas in Champion. Marlon Brando in The Wild One.
Hey, Johnny, what are you rebelling against?
What do you got? He made The Caine Mutiny, The Defiant Ones, Ship of Fools, On the Beach with Gregory Peck. Kramer films received 80 Academy Award nominations and won 16 Oscars. Kramer himself never got one. High Noon with Gary Cooper portrayed a man standing up to evil while the rest of the community cowered. Kramer's wife said the hero epitomized her husband. Stanley Kramer. That's our report on World News Tonight. On World News Tonight tomorrow, surviving a serious plane crash. It actually happens more often than you think. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening and good night.
Tonight.
You see what this is?
It's personal.
I don't owe you an explanation.
It's public.
What the hell's wrong with you?
And it's leading this cop
We got all day.
to a meltdown.
You're heading for trouble.
All new NYPD Blue ABC Tonight. Viewer discretion advised.
K2 News at 6:30 is brought to you by your friendly Northwest Dodge dealers. Connecting you to your world. This is K2 News.
Good evening. I'm Paul Lenman.
And I'm Steve Dunn. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, Intel today announced sweeping cost-cutting measures that will save the company hundreds of millions of dollars. Intel says it will delay raises, cut back on hiring, and slash spending on things like travel and overtime. It also plans to reduce staff size by about 5% through attrition. But Intel says no layoffs.
Absolutely not. And in fact, in Oregon, one of the interesting things is that even though we are trying to reduce our overall employment company-wide, we are going to be hiring in critical positions, and there are up to 1,000 manufacturing technicians that we plan to hire in Oregon, even with this current cost-saving measure.
The cutbacks are
are welcome, and you know, I'm really interested in anything that the corporation